All right. This forms training is going to be on the septic addendum. So in the event that the property that you are writing an offer on has a septic system, then you will need to use the septic system inspection and repair. Now, this one throws me off a little bit, so don't be surprised if it throws you off, because I truly believe this should be initiated by the listing agent, by the seller, because some of this information isn't known. So, but however, it's fairly common that that hasn't been started. So then the buyer's agent is going to start this addendum. So Iowa Code 455.172 mandates the inspection of septic systems unless exempt prior to the transfer of the property. The code applies to the transfer of property, which include at least one, but not more than 4 dwelling units. And this property has a septic system and is not connected to a sanitary sewer system. Now it goes in and it talks about the properties that are exempt from that. So if it's bare ground, if it has more than 5 dwelling units, if there's a court order transfer, if it's a foreclosure, lenders selling a foreclosed property, fiduciaries in the court of administration, of a descendant's estate, a guardianship, conservatorship, or trust between joint tenants or tenants in common, intra-family transfers, which a lot of these, we wouldn't really maybe then be part of the transaction necessarily, but there are some exemptions that can happen up there. All right, if it's exempt, then they sign in the first section. The seller's disclosure statement that they've warranted to the best of the situation that it's in good working order at the time of the offer. It's a disclaimer that the brokerage makes no statements regarding the warranty on the septic, and the seller authorizes the agent to provide a copy of this statement to any persons or entity in connection with the sale of the property. All right, so page 2 then goes into talk about, has the system been cleaned? Okay, so this is the part that I actually think, and it'd probably be a good idea if you're listing a property, go ahead and fill this section out, and then it can be provided to the buyer. But has the system been inspected by a DNR inspector in the last 2 years, installed within or pumped, cleaned within the last 3? If yes, what was the date of the inspection, and what was the date the system was cleaned or pumped? So if the inspected or installed within the 2 years of closing date, the system may not need inspected. Okay, so if it's newly installed within the last 2 years, does it need to be inspected and pumped with, or I'm sorry, the pumping is within the last 3 years. So if there's yes to any of those, they can explain where is the general location of the system. So it's located in the northeast corner of the property, or it's south of the house, or wherever that would be. If there isn't a known location, you would check that. What is the age, or is the age unknown? Okay, so if there's any additional documents that you would want to connect to this agreement, you can do that. And then it goes into the buyers and sellers agree to have the septic system inspected by a person certified by the DNR, and such inspection will be paid for by, who's going to pay for it, right? We're going to put that in the purchase agreement as well. So who's paying for it? The buyer, the seller? Are they going to split it? And then how many days within execution of the agreement will that be done? Or no later than blank. So fill that out accordingly. Buyer and seller both initial in this section, okay? Then it goes on to talk about the county recorder will not record a deed or any property transfer conveyance document until either a certified inspection report is provided or attached to the groundwater hazard statement. Okay, so they're not going to transfer it. So, talks about at the time of the inspection, any septic system existing as part of the sewage disposal system may be opened and have the contents pumped out or disposed of as provided by the rule. And then if a private sewage disposal system is failing to ensure effective waste treatment or otherwise improperly functioning, the private sewage disposal system shall be renovated to meet the current construction standards as adopted by the DNR, either by the seller or by an agreement within a reasonable time period to determined by the county. It could be accepted by the buyer. So within, so either the current conditions can be met either by the seller, the buyer, or agreed upon by the county. If the private sewage disposal system is properly treating the water and not creating any unsanitary conditions in the environment at the time of the inspection, the system is not required to meet any construction standards, only if it's failing to meet. All right, so in this area, then the buyer and the seller both sign. The second part is after inspection. So once the property has been inspected, the buyer and seller agree to repair, renovate, or replace the septic as follows. So who provides the service for this septic? Who's responsible to pay for it? So is their buyer paying for it? Is the seller paying for it? Are you mutually going to agree to pay for it? And the buyers and sellers may agree to escrow money for the renovation, repair, or replacement of the septic system and may complete an escrow agreement and release. Following an inspection and inspection form, any related reports shall be provided to the county. So there's just a few different options in that. In a nutshell, if you have a septic, you're going to need the septic addendum. First part's going to need to be filled out by the seller. The second part is kind of like, okay, who's going to do the inspection and pay for what? And then the third section talks about if there is a need for repair, what are we going to do about it? All right. So that gets signed and included in your paperwork. Again, that is the septic system inspection and repair addendum.